Photoshop Nerd Stuff, chapter 1011. I don't know, I lost track. In here, what I want to show you is how the different blend modes interacts with colors. In here, what I have, it's only, let me show you. I do have this scale of gray, and over this I set to a stripe of colors so we can see how the blending modes interact with colors using just this kind of scale. So at the top we have exactly the same, but in this case the light scale is configured in overlay blending mode, and the bottom one is in soft light. As you can see, this is really different. When we did talk about Dodge and Burn, and we talk about doing the Dodge and Burn with empty layers and painting with black and white and then changing the blending mode, I told you I do not like how it interacts with colors. Besides, I lost control of the layer mask. I have less things for play after if I need to. So I did recommend you to do it with curves or in some cases with levels. But I wanted to show you why or how the blending modes interacts with the colors in case you want to do the Dodge and Burn using a white and a black brush. So for understand this, I want to, you can trust on your own eyes and see this. Remember, we only have these two stripes of color below and in here. So when we apply, let's start with the top one. When we apply different shades of black or gray, as you can see, when we move to the left, we start affecting the saturation, increasing the saturation. If we apply more black or we paint more with black because we want to decrease the luminosity in this area, we will end up with a darker area, yes, but it will also be more saturated. And oversaturate the shadows most of the times will not be a good idea. In the other hand, with the bright side, with what will happen if you start painting with white because you want to increase the luminosity, what will happen is you will decrease a lot of the saturation. In some occasions, this will be just fine because in some situations you will end up with something with pretty low saturation. In fact, highlights should have pretty low saturation level. In the other hand, if you use soft light instead of using overlay, when you paint, remember below this we have something flat. In here we do not have any light difference. The right side and the left side are exactly the same. When we start painting with a black brush in soft light in an empty layer or in a mid-gray layer in soft light, we will start painting with black. And if we want to decrease a lot the luminosity of an area, what will happen is we will decrease the luminosity. In the overlay mode, we will decrease the luminosity and we will increase a lot the saturation. In the soft light, we will decrease the luminosity and will not increase that much amount of saturation. In the other hand, when we start painting with white, because we will want to increase the luminosity of some part of the image, for example, I don't know, the forehead in the old example we did use. If we want to increase the luminosity in some part, we will end up in the overlay mode increasing the luminosity, but we will end with something pretty grayish. And in the soft light blend mode, this will not affect that much the saturation. It will decrease the saturation, but it will be less extreme than the overlay blend mode. Again, there is no one correct and the other one is incorrect. These are different, and in some situations, maybe you will want to use one or other. But also, you can use, as we use in the course, curves, because these are way more stable. In here, I did push a lot to bring down the, let's say, the luminosity to something darker. And in here, I added more luminosity so we can have something like this for this side and this for the other side. As you can see, this is kind of, I wouldn't say a in-between point, but it's a good way to deal when you need to increase a lot the luminosity and you want to work pretty well with colors. However, what you will see using curves is when you decrease a lot the luminosity, like in this part of this stripe, when you decrease a lot the luminosity using dodge and burn, if you only grab the curve from the center, you will end up with something maybe oversaturated as well. When you need to dimmer a lot the over exposure in some part of the image on you, or you want to decrease a lot, you need to burn a lot. This is the burn layer. You will want to grab the curve from the extreme right point and decrease it. If you do this, you will end up being able to bring down a lot the luminosity and do not oversaturate the area. Have in mind, the saturation should also be linked with the luminosity of the area. You don't want to have exactly the same saturation all around. You don't want to have oversaturated highlights or shadows. You want to have less saturation in the very highlights and in the shadows, and you want to contain more saturation in the mid lights. It's like a general rule. This is how your own eyes see in real life. And if you end up adding a lot of saturation when you create a new darker area because you burn a lot that area because you want it more dark, or in the other hand, you add a lot of luminosity, for example, in the center of the nose because you want to reshape the nose, and the highlights end up with a lot of saturation, let's say something like this in the soft light example. If you end up with this saturation in a highlight, it will look really fake. So you want to kind of understand how the saturation and the luminosity is linked to get a good result when you dodge and burn or reshape light in an image. Remember, shadows and highlights in general must remain with less amount of saturation than the mid-range of luminosity. Okay, if I think in the future I missed something in this video or I want to add something, maybe I will record a new one or extend this. So for the moment, I don't want to confuse you even more about different blending modes. I hope you can find this example clear and help you to keep working and keep creating new editing techniques. See you in the next video. Bye bye.